Architectural Builder Supply is pleased to present you with this recording of the technical question that is listed in the title of this video.
This call may be monitored and recorded for quality assurance.
Piece on this matter. You have a few minutes?
Yes.
Okay. The door, obviously, I believe, actually, it came with the house, right? So it's more than 50 years old. It's not perfectly flat and plumb and straight. I don't know if that makes sense.
Yeah, of course.
Because I'm sorry?
Yes, of course it does. Yeah, I understand.
Oh, okay, great. So when I had to sand down, or actually I used a router to remove the old paint so it fits into the opening, more easily, so it doesn't rub or scratch or whatever. The fit is fine. Okay, it goes in and out, no friction at all. But once the hinge go on, the hinge doesn't allow for more than a 180-degree movement once the door is closed. So the door being not exactly plumb and flat and straight, it has a resistance. When you close it, it feels like it wants to bounce open again. Mm-hmm. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it's what we'd call hinge bind.
Inch bind, I'm sorry?
Hinge bind.
Hinge bind, got it. Okay. How do I deal with that? Because it's going to happen to another door or whatnot, especially the larger door. It's going to be a lot worse. The longer door, I should say.
Well, I mean, so you're saying it kind of wants to pop back open?
Right.
Okay.
It has resistance, yeah, when you close it.
Okay, so it's very, very coincidental that you are doing this project. I have another client who's doing the almost identical project, and
okay.
So the bottom line is this. Okay. There is probably about a 40,000th of an inch difference between where the back of the hinge leaf attaches to the face of the unit and where that places the door. So what's happening is that the replacement hinge for this client's 1965 hinge is not in the identical geometric relationship from the plate, the portion of the hinge that has the two holes, the two screw holes that you attach it. It allows the door to sit in an imperceptible amount that you would never see with your eye, but when you install it and hang the door and you push the door closed, but it's rubbing, it wants to come back out. And there's two answers to it really. One is awful, and the others work. If you were to put a small washer underneath the hinge where you've got it attached, just to demonstrate the proof of concept, and build the hinge off, you'll be able to swing that door to the closed position. So you obviously can't do that long term. What I would recommend is, since you've got a router, turn that into a router table, and I would skim.
No, I have no skill in carpentry. I asked a friend to help me. His router at his shop. So just FYI.
Well, you might owe him a dinner or a case of beer.
I told him that already. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, so skimming off the back side of that, where the door is encroaching into the space too much, is probably the issue. And to help this client solve his problem, I created a video, so I could send you a link to that video, so that you could see what I'm demonstrating. But it's just, if you study the two hinges very, very closely, you'll notice that one hinge, the relationship of the leaf to the frame, is in a different relationship to the other hinge. But by 40 thousandths is the only difference. Yours might be different.
I think first of all, you are most likely 100% correct. But from my point of view, after installing it, it looks like the door is just not perfectly flat. It's warped, right? Is that the right word? It's just
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, what is a sponge?
Yeah.
It's just a very dense sponge. It's not going to be true plumb level and square. I realize you don't want to get into making new cabinet doors, but I would say that, like we say in the door business, if you've got a 16th over here and you got a 16th over there, well, 16th by themselves aren't a problem, but you put them together and now you got a problem. So you likely have very tiny things working against you to cause that problem. If you were to relieve the back of the door somehow and just take the wood away that's causing the problem, which I'm not saying I'm an advocate of.
I can almost guarantee that if I use a new 3/4 inch and have it routed down to the door specs and fit in that opening, this problem will just go away. I can almost guarantee it.
You're probably right. You're probably right.
Yeah, because when I talked to my friend with the router, he said, there's no guarantee how true and straight your old door is, but if you buy a new one and start from scratch, it'll be perfect. I'm like, no, duh, right? I mean,
so,
So that's the route I don't want to go, because that's a lot of work. I mean, I got a lot of doors, and then and don't forget the router is not like 100% precise instrument. It's as precise as the user can get it to. You know what I mean? It's not like one of those tooling machines at the shop, those building manufacturing shop where every piece is identical. This is done by hand, so it's not. So anyway, I just thought I'd let you know. So I just thought I'd let you know. I don't know where to go from here, because I know if this regular size door is going to have this problem, the longer door for sure is going to be a lot worse. Because you
could test that theory because you've got a pair of hinges.
Well, the longer door requires 3 hinges. It's too heavy for
you can get by with 2 just to test it. I would think.
I don't want to keep removing, but anyway, I thought I'd let you know. So I am working on that, and unless you have a easy solution or something that can solve it, I'm just gonna keep working on it and see what I can do. I'm gonna try your. I don't think the washer would do anything, but I'm going to see if I can get to that, and see what it looks like. Because the washer would only...
It would only prove the concept.
Right, but the washer would only make the screw go into the wood less and give it a more... how do I say? So instead of having the hinge go 180, which is the max that the hinge would go comfortably, you're giving the hinge to go maybe 165. So when the door is closed, it'll just be a little air gap. That's what I'm thinking. So
there's no doubt going to be a gap. But all we want to do is to determine whether it's not a solution that you solve permanently with a washer. We are simply trying to determine whether or not the reason that it is bound and not closing is because of the relationship of where the mounting point of the plane of the hinge when it's attached to the jamb and the plane of the back of the door. That dimension has changed. There's too much door in the opening and it's making contact with the frame. Padding out the hinge at the time of installation with a washer would simply prove whether or not it was.
Well, yes, we already got to that part even before the router started. My friend did the routing. Yeah, because we took an extra 1/8 of an inch off. So it pretty much eliminated the problem you just mentioned. In other words, the door now that sits in the opening has play. If that makes sense, it's not a true fit. It has play now because we route it all the way across, all sides, all 4 sides, to bare wood. We remove all old paint. Okay, so actually the hinge, the turning, the I don't know what do you call it, the part that turns and goes into the back of the door. That part now has a little 1/8 of an inch gap. but it still works. It just have an eighth of an inch. What I'm saying is that the door opening is not binding to the door is not binding to the hinge or the opening because the door is actually smaller now. So you see what I'm saying? So that's where we're at now, So I don't think the washer will help, but if I can get around to it, I'll give it a shot. But I think if go ahead.
Sorry, how about this though? You know how to keep the bear out of your trash can? Just move the trash can. What if you put inexpensive magnetic catches on the doors?
I can, but I don't know if that'll solve the problem because I don't know how much resistance the door can do, the wood, right? And I don't know how much magnetized power the magnet has. So it's like I can try, but I don't know until I actually do it.
Yeah, we've got magnets that you can get north of 20 pounds of pressure. I mean, a typical magnet would be 3 or 4 pounds.
Okay.
It'll keep it behaving. It's just long term you might test that concept
lose
as well.
the power, right. Well, here's my thinking. Okay, if that hinge, because you mentioned the correct 2 words in the very beginning, is hinge bind. If that hinge can go more than 180 when the door is closed, I think it would eliminate at least 90% of this problem, because the hinge won't go farther than 180. It's like it's dead set on that. On the closing position, it won't tolerate anything more. And with these old doors, I guess that's what it needs, something to tolerate it. Well, at least we're on the same page. I'm glad I talked to you. I learned quite a bit, and we'll see what happens. I mean, worst case scenario, I'm just going to replace all the doors. I mean, what choice do I have? I mean, I want it to fit, flat and flush, without some resistance all the time trying to pop open.
I hope you keep me in the loop. I want to know how it turns out.
Yeah, if I have the time to get around to it, because now I'm getting to the busy time of the year, November and December. Like it's going to be so crazy around here. But anyway, yeah. So just thought I let you know up to date. And if you have any special way of dealing with this, or a better design hinge that will tolerate that and not bind at 180 degrees, then shoot me an email. Let me know.
Do you mean when the door is closed or when the door is fully open?
No. Open is no problem. Open, it can go all the way. It can go past 90 degrees. It only needs to open 90, right? It'll go past 90. But closed, the hinge won't go beyond 180.
No, it won't. It won't go to.
Exactly.
It won't go negative. It's. Yeah, I mean, now another thing you could do is also shim the door as well. So, if you were to, the problem is the hinge is so small. If you were to put a shim on the back side of the door between
and
the
then
hinge
put a
leaf,
longer screw.
Well, I wouldn't worry about a longer screw because you only need to cant the door, to tip it in a little bit. You might be able to shim it so that the door is no longer parallel to the face of the rest of the cabinet structure. If you can cant the door in a little bit, you might be able to resolve that. Maybe.
Oh, okay.
New cabinet doors are going to be a trial. That's for sure.
Yeah, but I think the shim makes sense because you're not making the hinge go negative, like you say, beyond 180 degrees. That makes sense. Yeah, and I think depending on the thickness of the shim, I think a longer screws is a safer bet, just to make sure it goes deep enough into the door, the back of the door. But then that would not solve the fact that the door is not straight and plumb or flat plane.
It won't.
Yeah, it won't. Yeah, so at the binding, well, I don't want to say binding, but the crookedness will still be there. The crookedness, is that a word?
Yeah. Your door is if you were to place it on a table, it wouldn't lay perfectly flat.
Exactly. Yes, that's it. That's the problem. That is the whole problem. It's not the hinge. It's not me.
No.
We remove all the old paint, so I know it's not rubbing. So it's the door. The hinge doesn't accommodate for that warp door. Nope. If it goes beyond 180 and give it some relief, then at least it'll take some of the pressure off.
Well, how about this, Howard? Why not put the hinge into a vise and give it a little elbow grease? Give it a little English.
My God. Are you serious? I'm not that good. You're talking to an expert like yourself. I can't even route the door.
I'm sure that you do something in the professional world that this may not be your skill set. I understand that, but you must have skills in another area that translate. You might be able to just bend that leaf a little bit. It's worth a try. You could put it in a vise. You could get a block, and you can get a rubber mallet, and you can tap that thing a little bit. I'm most if I do that, I'm not going to get it right. But let's just say I get it right, just for sake of argument, right? I get it right. If I get that right and have the door closed without resistance, you know what's going to happen? There's going to be a gap on the top or on the bottom, whichever the warpness is at. It's going to be a gap at the top or the bottom, meaning it won't sit flush with the opening. It won't. It never will.
It won't, right? Yeah.
It can't.
Yeah.
You're trying to put Band-Aids on this.
But if the hinge will have more tolerance, go beyond 180, at least that gap will be very minimal. That's my logic. Maybe it sucks, but that's my logic. If the hinge will go beyond 180 or negative, like you say, that gap will be very minimal. Okay, so that's my logic.
If the hinge still went into the negative part of the quadrant, you're still going to have the same problem you described.
It will still be warped. The door will still be warped. We didn't solve the warped door, but that gap on the top or the bottom would be very minimal because it's allowing the door to close all the way into the opening.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? But right now it's not even allowing the door to close all the way in the opening. You see, and it's fighting the hinge and the warpness of the wood. It's fighting both forces, and those two forces are what's holding the door up to begin with. But anyway, So I just thought I'd chime in and give you up to date. But let me work on it. I mean, it's not like I got to get it done this week or anything. It's I mean, I always have the worst case scenario, which is new doors. Then they'll be perfect. They'll be flush. It'll be sit right, true, and if I route it correct. Oh, my friend, actually, if he routes it correctly to the old door specs or at least close to it, I would still need your hinges. Okay. Unless you can recommend another hinges. Simpler. Yeah, I mean, you can recommend something simpler or simpler form of routing the door, a new door. Let's say if I start off scratch with all new doors, is there an easier way to get hinges on the newer doors without so much technicalities of routing everything to spec?
Yeah, so right now what you have is a 5/8 inset with, I think, a 3/8 overlay. You've got a stepped profile to the edge of your door. You could just literally do overlay and not have any of the door encroaching into and past the front plane of the cabinet. Imagine a 24-inch by 24-inch piece of half-inch thick wood, and it's just flat. There are hinges that are just flat on the backside. And you would just do an overlay installation with a flat door. That would be meaning a 24 by 24 piece of door would fit into the 24 by 24 opening. No, because you're doing overlay. If you had your opening, let's say you would add an inch in each dimension. the width and the height.
Oh, no. Okay, if I'm going to do new doors, no. If I'm going to do new doors, I want to have like a English style. No. If I do new doors, I'm not going to do this kind of door. It's too much specs to follow, too much details. If I do new doors, I want to do it simpler, easier. So that's my logic. I could be wrong and it'll come out really ugly. But if I do new doors, if I use a 24 by 24 example, wood, I want it to fit into a 24 by 24 opening and it'll be flush.
So you would do, that's called an inset. At that point, you would use you would use a full surface hinge, and they certainly do make those. That would be very easy.
Right. That'll be very easy, right? Less specs and less technical stuff to match up. So, but then I gotta find out if the opening is still square, is still true and square. Okay, if it's not, then that's another issue.
Well, you're gonna make the doors to match those openings.
Yeah, that would be odd, right? I mean, trying to cut a piece of wood to a not square opening.
not for a woodworker.
That would be ugly, right? It'll come out really weird. I'd rather do it this way.
You would never tell, because if you maintain the margin between the opening and the door, let's say you maintain a 1/8 of an inch all the way around, it could be a parallelogram. It would not really. What you've got to make sure is that the vertical axis of pivoting of the hinges are compliant.
That too, yes. See, that's too technical. Yeah, if the opening is not true and square, forget it. I'm just going to go back to this. Yeah.
You're going to have to sell your house and move. Don't give up. Don't give up on this. It's going to work.
No. First of all, I'm not selling this house. Okay, I'm planning to make it nice. Okay.
Yeah.
So that's that, and then I want to do something about it, because it's just the door just sitting there. I'm like, okay, I got to take care of this.
Yeah.
But yeah. So, but anyway, I'm glad I ran into you online, and then you're teaching me so much stuff. I mean, even though I'm not an expert in carpentry, but this is fun. I like. Well, I don't want to say fun, but this is interesting. I like learning about stuff like that.
It's liberating.
Yeah. So anyway, So anything come up, then just shoot me an email. Other than that, I'll see if I can keep you updated in the loop.
Yes, I hope that you will. Yes, sir. I'd like to know.
Okay. All right. Thank you. All right. Thank you. Okay.
Thank you,
Take
sir.
care.
Bye-bye.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Architectural Builders Supply hopes you have enjoyed this program. Again, thank you for watching, and if you've enjoyed this video, please click thumbs up. Please subscribe and maybe even send the video to someone that you know. Thank you.